The Obama Presidential Center's grand opening ceremony is tomorrow in Chicago. Ahead of that, the former president sat down with MS Now to offer a preview of his favorite exhibit.
Right outside the Oval Office, we have a display of a sampling of the 10 letters that I used to receive every night. I think we got something like 40,000 pieces of correspondence every day.
Every day?
For 8 years while I was in the White House. And we had an entire letter correspondence office just responding to the public's letters. And that office would select 10 representative letters for me to read each day. They'd put it in my folder at the top of my briefing book, and I'd usually save those for after I was finished with reading all the stuff I had to read. And I initiated that as a way of staying in touch with people, especially early on when we were going through so many difficult decisions. And so there's a display that has a sampling of those letters, but the exhibition team made this wonderful short video, this vignette of a few of those letters. And whenever I watch those, because it's Mother talking about, Mr. President, I'm struggling, and it's a vet, who's still trying to find his path after he's no longer serving, and people are really raw in their emotions in some of these letters, partly because they don't expect the president's actually going to read it. It's almost like a meditation for them, a way of getting stuff off their chest. And so whenever I watch that, I get kind of...
Yeah, I can see that.
I get choked up.
You're getting a little...
Yeah. So
choked up now?
If there's one exhibit that people should take the time right after the Oval Office, which everybody will go to just so they can take a picture of the apples and everything else that might be in there.
Sit in your chair.
Sit in the chair. Just come around on the side, and there'll be those letters, and there'll be a video that's looping. And take the time to watch that, because I think that, as much as anything, captures what I always hoped the spirit of my presidency was.
And tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern, please join MS Now live from Chicago for the grand opening of the Obama Presidential Center. Then on Friday night, Michelle Norris hosts a special behind-the-scenes look inside the center, featuring exclusive interviews with former President Barack Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama, as well as members of their inner circle. Again, that's tomorrow beginning at 11 a.m. Eastern, right here on MS Now. And Mara, it's easy to do, but let's just contrast the behavior and the language we see from the current occupant of the Oval Office, including what he said today about President Obama, contrasting with what we just saw in that piece about how clearly the weight of the office fell on his shoulders and the responsibilities he felt for those individual people, recognizing that he as president is a symbol, but also that it's his job to try to make their lives even a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, this presidential center is a wonderful addition and an important addition to the nation's record, especially at a moment when Donald Trump and his allies are attacking, not only their political opponents, but the very reality and truth of this country's history and founding. And so it's really important. I think one of the things to reflect on, though, in this moment is that the coalition of voters and Americans that Barack Obama brought together still exists. Those Americans believe deeply in multiracial democracy. You see them voting in elections throughout the country in swing states, in places you wouldn't expect, and here in New York with the Mamdani coalition. And those Americans do not want to see his legacy confined to a building. They want to see it living, and they want to see it alive this November in the midterms. And one of the questions, too, is what former President Barack Obama, what role he will play in that moving forward. A lot of people are hoping it'll be a more active one.